Good morning. Happy Saturday, happy weekend. On here to do a review of Forever Love. Forever Loved. This movie was on Tubi. I was watching this movie last night on Tubi. Very interesting movie. It was a good movie. It was a happy movie, inspirational movie, sad movie. It was very good. It was very good. I ain't gonna lie. It was a very good movie. In the beginning of this movie, it was this lady who was a counselor, and she was counseling people to go through their what they was going through their relationships and all. And on top of that, she had just came out of a relationship, an abusive relationship or something. And she was so guarded. She was so guarded being in another relationship. And it was sad because in the beginning of this movie, I think they would show when she was younger, when she was talking to her father about certain stuff, like her father was telling her about certain stuff that would happen in her life, far as relationships and far as her getting closer to God and all that. And she really didn't want to listen to it. She really was kind of guarded. She was real guarded when it came to listening to what her father was talking about. And then, us then come to find out the father that was telling her certain stuff about what was going to happen if she, gets into a relationship or do whatever she's doing. He passed away. I didn't realize it going the movie that he passed away until they showed it at the end or something. But come to find out, she was real guarded. She was real guarded when it came to dealing with men. And she was real guarded. It was this guy. She was a counselor. And it was this guy that kept calling her and kept wanting to have one-on-one time with her or something. And he kept calling her. He kept calling the office. He kept trying to have one-on-one conversation with her or something. But she kept blocking him each time. And on top of that, he came to see her. And she still kept blocking him. She still kept telling him she don't have no time to be, to give him no time enough. And he kept pushing to get time with her. And then eventually she decided to have time with him or something. She decided to counsel him. And she was counseling him, and he was telling her different situation about what he was going through. And each time he wanted to be in her presence. And every time she just didn't want to, she really didn't want to deal with him. She didn't want to deal with him at all. It's she basically put up her guard when it came to him. And eventually she tore down that guard. She was hanging out with her friends or something. She was hanging out with her friends. And they were just hanging out. They went to the bar. I think it was a bar or something. He came in. His boys was there first. And he came in. And he spotted her in the corner with her friends. And he was like, yeah, I'm trying to get at that one. I'm trying to talk to that one right there. But it's she still kept denying him. She still kept denying access or something. And eventually, she basically had access. She basically opened up to him. And they was hanging out, the friends was hanging out at the house, was hanging out, I think at her house. And they got drunk, and he came over, and she was tore up. She was tore up drunk. And one of her friends had told him to take her home. He took her home, and she woke up not realizing that no, he took her to his house. He took her to his house, not realizing that she was drunk. Like she was tore up drunk. She didn't even realize she was tore up drunk. And he just kept on like trying to get at her. He was trying to get at her. He was trying to get at her so many times in this movie until he got her. Until they talked. He fixed her something to eat. And then she started pulling down her guard. She really started pulling down her guard towards him. They started hanging out. They started talking to each other. They got with each other. They started talking to each other. She slowly put that guard down about men or something. And then eventually they got into a relationship. And she thought she basically found the one. Like he actually was going to try to marry her. He actually was going to try to marry her. And she basically rejected him. She rejected him because she rejected him again with his family. Like he wanted to marry her in front of the family, and she said no. And she didn't see him for like 2 or 3 weeks or something. He saw her at the store picking up something, but he just didn't approach her. And eventually, like the friends got back together. The friends were hanging out with each other. And she was like, she felt real embarrassed because she rejected him. And she rejected his proposal. And then they eventually got together. And they eventually, were good with were good with each other. And eventually she started breaking them walls down. About why when it come to men, she guarded with men. Because her last relationship, she said that that the guy basically abused her. Like she lost her father. But come to find out her father had like heart infection, and he passed away, and he gave his heart to somebody else. And she was in a relationship with some guy that was abusing her. He was choking her out. He was slapping her around and all that stuff. And she basically was real guarded. He was cheating on her. He was lying to her. He was telling her certain stuff that wasn't true. And then, like I said, when she found this guy, she started slowly putting her guard down. And she told him basically the real truth about why she is real guarded when it comes to men. Because, she wanted a man like her father was. And the men that she met basically was cheating on her, lying to her, abusing her, was doing a lot of stuff to her that she didn't like. And that's why she put up her guard when it came to men, including him in the beginning. And then she started getting close. She started, really dealing with him and all that. And then they were hanging out. Like they got back together. They got back talking to each other like 2 weeks after she decided to reject him from his marriage. She didn't want to marry him at that time because it felt real awkward to say it in front of a lot of people. So that's what she told him. She was going through so much stuff. And then eventually they started hanging out again. They started being with each other. And she talked to her grandmother about how her and her grandfather got together. And her grandmother gave her a lot of good advice about, how they got together. And she took the advice, and she basically, he went over the front house. She went over a front house to hang out. And the friend told her that, oh yeah, he kept calling. He kept calling the office and wanting to get at you. And in that same time, when she said that, he knocked on the door to come see her, and she was happy. She was thrilled to see him because she thought that he didn't want her no more. He didn't want to deal with her after she basically said she didn't want to be with him. But he got back with her. They hung out, they was eating, they were like having fun with each other, and everything was good. And then come to find, then eventually he told her the story. He told her his side of the story about what he was going to happen as far as the accidents, as far as the car accident. He had a car accident, and he was on the verge of dying, and he got a heart from somebody else. And she wanted to know who the person was, and he didn't know who it was until he called the doctor, and the doctor really didn't say nothing to him about who gave him the heart. But come to find out, they was in the kitchen. They was in the kitchen. I mean, he found out eventually. He found out eventually who gave him the heart, and then eventually they was in the kitchen talking. No, they was eating a sandwich. They was eating a sandwich and watching. It was watching TV or something like that. And then eventually they was in the kitchen talking, and I think he was cooking her something to eat or something. And then all of a sudden, he was either cooking something to eat or he was washing dishes or something. And all of a sudden, he just fell out. He just fell out, and he was in the hospital, and the heart that he had, didn't work anymore. And they had to, basically, he passed away. He passed away like almost at the end of the show or something. He passed away. And it was a real sad situation to deal. It was a sad situation. And come to find out, she went to the house, and the family treated her good. His family treated her real good. And they loved her to the utmost, even though he like I said, he rejected her as far as the marriage, but they loved that girl. They loved that girl to the utmost. And then she went to his house to get some things, and then she saw a letter of his. To come to find out that the heart that he had was her father's heart. She had her father's heart. And she read it and then started crying. It was deep. It was like she was going through a lot of stuff. Like he was basically her forever love. That's why the title was Forever Love, because that was her forever love, and that was his forever love to the day that God took him home. So, I mean, to me, this is the kind of story, like when I was watching this movie yesterday, it kind of came back to me thinking like, okay, I'm kind of like that type of person. Like when it comes to women, I'm real guarded. Like I'm the type of person, if you can't be real and honest with me from the jump, then it's like, there's nothing, I can't deal with you like that, because I don't like secrets. I'd rather for you to be honest, be real, be straightforward, and just tell me the truth about stuff. That's how I am. And I'm probably like that when it comes to women. I'm real guarded. I mean, that's something I have to pray on. I have to give it to God about. But I feel like me personally, I'm real guarded. But she was real guarded about, who she put in her environment, who she put around her or something. And I got that. Because I'm that type of person too. I'm that type of person where I'm real guarded. Whoever around me, you got to be positive. You got to have positive vibes. You got to have a good spirit. I got to feel like I can say whatever I want to. I can say something and you won't take it badly or something. So I get what she was going through. And she was going through the physical abuse. Me personally, I go through like the mental abuse. I was going through the mental abuse of stuff. So I kind of got her story. I got her story about certain stuff about being God. And when you being God, you got to pray, and whatever you're going through, you got to pray on it and give it to God. And that's basically what I'm doing. I'm praying on stuff and giving it to God. And I'm not even like, I want positive people in my life. That's how I am. But this movie was very good. This movie was very interesting. It had its happy scenes, it had interesting scenes, and it had its sad scenes at the end. You know, you gotta kind of, like this movie, you gotta kind of really look at it and be like, wow, it's very interesting. But if you like this review, this is my review of Forever Loved. Forever Love. Hope you enjoyed this video. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. This is my review of Forever Love. I'm out. Peace.